Picture a modest house in Lutz, Florida, with a screen door that never quite latched right. Inside, the smell of cookies cooling on the counter. Oatmeal raisin, probably. She always said chocolate chip got too much attention. And over by the calendar taped to the fridge, there's a woman flipping through her to-do list for the grandkids, the church, the neighbor up the street. That was Sharyl Jeannine Anderson, and most people just called her Grandmom. She made a lot of cookies, oatmeal raisins, snickerdoodles, chocolate chip, always soft in the middle, always a little too many on the plate. But the real secret? She baked like she loved, in big batches, never just for herself. Family, friends, and neighbors. If you lived nearby, you probably had a Tupperware from Sharyl at least once. And even if you didn't, she probably wished that you had. Not every hero needs a cape. Some wear orthopedic sneakers, haul poster boards to science fairs, and still remember how you like your sandwich cut. I am Steve Rode, and this is True Stories from the Obit Files. People you never knew, but won't forget. Sharyl's story isn't just about spotlight moments. It's about what happens when someone just keeps showing up. Without ceremony, without drama, just a quiet kind of fierce. Sharyl Jeannine Willows was born in Topeka, Kansas in 1940. A leap year baby by one day. She grew up in Scranton, graduated top of her class in 1958, and married her high school sweetheart, Carl, in 1960. That was the start of a long road together. They lived in Manhattan, Kansas, where she worked at Kansas State. Then came Marion, Iowa, and later Edwards Air Force Base in California. Those moves probably came with Carl's work, military maybe? But no matter where they landed, she found her rhythm. A new church, a new PTA, a new cookie recipe for the neighbors. Eventually they settled in Lancaster, California, raising their two kids, Kif and Michelle. And then one last move in 2003 to Lutz, Florida. They picked a house across from two of their grandkids, and while the rest of the family stayed in California, Sharyl made sure they never felt far. Birthday cards, cookies by mail, long phone calls about nothing in particular. And that house in Lutz? It might have been her last stop, but it was never quiet for long. Sharyl outlived her son Kif. That kind of grief rewrites a person. She never talked about it much, but she kept on showing up even when her heart was heavy. She wasn't just active, she was everywhere. The Cub Scout den mother with the spare glue sticks, the school secretary who remembered allergies better than the nurse, the church volunteer with strong opinions about how the coffee should be made. If someone needed a ride, she'd grab the keys. And when her kids were on stage or in a parade or pitching in Little League, she was there. Camera ready, sometimes too ready. She cheered loud and laughed louder. And usually, she brought cookies, the kind that made you forgive a missing permission slip or a rainy day field trip. She didn't just support the community, she sweetened it. She didn't suffer fools, especially if they tried to mess with the bake sale rotation or cut in line at Publix. Feisty wasn't just a word for Sharyl, it was the spice in her personality. And don't even get her started on the Lakers. She didn't just watch games. She yelled at the refs, loud enough for the neighbors to check the score. When she became Grandmom, she kept the same pace. Science fairs, spelling bees, Pinewood derbies, halftime shows, Girl Scout meetings, late-night recitals. If there was a crowd, she joined it. And if there wasn't, she clapped anyway. And when the whole family could be together, that's when she was happiest. She and Carl loved taking cruises out of Tampa, usually with the grandkids and often with cousins and always with enough sunscreen to supply a small village. She didn't need fancy ports of call. No, just a deck chair, a card game, and the people she loved. Sharyl wasn't trying to leave a legacy. She just didn't know how to quit on people. That's the kind of presence that sticks, the kind you hear in an empty room, the kind you miss at the table before the chairs are even warm. Everyone remembers her cookies, but it wasn't just the sugar or the spice. It was what they meant. That you were thought of, included, and remembered. That was Sharyl's story. She was 85 when she passed away in July 2025, surrounded by family. If you've ever had someone who just kept showing up, even when they didn't have to, well, then you know why her story deserves to be remembered. Hey, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, I'd truly be grateful if you drop me a 5-star review. It helps more people find these stories of people we shouldn't forget. And that was Sharyl Anderson's story. Thank you for taking the time to hear it.